Well, welcome back. Welcome to week 7 of the Checkpoint Wellness Challenge. If you've been showing up each week, even imperfectly, you've already been doing more than most. So today we're going to talk about something that makes or breaks success in most fitness or wellness journeys: consistency. Consistency is the bridge between intention and transformation. Without it, nothing else we've covered matters. The real secret to lasting change isn't discipline, it's grit. So what is grit? Grit is doing what you said you were going to do long after the mood you said it long after the mood you said it in has passed. It's not hype. It's not motivation. It's that quiet daily strength that keeps showing up. The psychologist Angela Duckworth defines grit as passion and perseverance for long-term goals. In other words, grit is staying loyal to your commitment when it's no longer convenient. So let's be honest. Most people don't lack knowledge. They know what to eat. They know what they need. They know what they need to move. They know what they need to do in most cases. But what they lack is consistency. And the number one thing that keeps people consistent is not a perfect plan, but a structure and a reason, a purpose. People who stay consistent build systems around themselves. They create small rules they can follow daily. They don't wait for motivation. They don't trust their feelings. They lean on patterns and routines that hold them when motivation runs out. It could be as simple as a trigger. Every time you finish work, you change into the gym clothes. That small cue reinforces a larger habit. Or a decision like, I walk every night after dinner. No debate, no second guessing. It's a default. Consistency also comes from identity. If you see yourself as someone who just tries things now and then, you'll act like that. But if you believe you're a healthy person who follows through, you'll show up like one. That's why the language we use with ourselves matters. Start saying things like, I train daily, I plan my food, I recover with purpose. I speak it until you believe it, then act it. Now let's talk about how you build grit. First, keep one promise a day to yourself. Doesn't have to be a big one. Maybe it's drinking water first thing in the morning. Maybe it's logging your meals. What matters is showing your brain that you follow through. Second, expect resistance. Grit is not built in moments of ease. It's forged in frustration, pain, uncomfortableness, challenge. So when you feel like quitting, when you feel like giving up, remind yourself, this is the moment I grow. Right now, this is the moment. And third, celebrate your consistency, not just your results. Most people want to celebrate their results. Celebrate every time you get it right. Did you show up today? That's a win. Track those wins. Put a check mark on the calendar, on your notes, on your journal. Let it add up. Build a streak. It builds internal confidence. And it tells your brain you are being successful. And that matters too. Fourth, give yourself credit for recovery. Grit isn't being perfect. Grit is missing a day once in a while and coming back to the next. That's real strength. So let's be real. Progress isn't always obvious. You may feel like you're not changing, but deep change happens underground, like roots growing before the plant breaks through the soil. Your energy may shift before your weight does. Your sleep may improve before your strength does. Stay with it. Be consistent, no matter what. When you feel like you've hit a wall, zoom out, pull back, look at the last 3 months. Are you more consistent than you were? Are you showing up more days than not? That's still momentum. Now let's get even more practical. One of the best tools to train grit is something called if-then planning. It means having a backup strategy ready. It means having a backup strategy ready. If you miss your morning workout, then I'll go for a walk at lunch. If you forget your lunch, then you'll grab a protein option instead of fast food. This removes the all or nothing mindset and keeps you in motion. Here's another tip. Do one hard thing each week on purpose. A tough workout, a challenging fast, something that builds discomfort tolerance. Grit is a muscle. You grow it by leaning into effort and not avoiding it. Keep a grit log or a section on your log where you log grit. Write one sentence each night. Today I showed grit by ... This reminds you that growth isn't just physical, it's emotional and mental too. And lean into community. Don't isolate. Talk to someone who's walking the same road. Share your goals. Text your wins. Accountability isn't weakness, it's power. Here's your homework. For this week, pick one habit you struggled to stay consistent with. Just one. Now do it every day, every single day this week. Doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to be long, it just has to be daily. Track it, write it down, see what it feels like to build a streak. That's how consistency is born. Not through motivation, but through grit. You don't need a perfect plan. I want to say that again. You don't need a perfect plan. You need the resolve to keep going. And I believe you can do it. Now remember, grit is something like I'm going to continue to do something no matter how uncomfortable I am. A lot of people struggle with this. Over the years, this is the one characteristic that I can honestly say is the deciding factor of success or not. Because most people give up when they don't see results because they want to be, whether they realize it or not, they're results driven. And I say, forget about that. Put that in the garbage for now. Put that, or at least on hold. We still want results, but you want to be focused on process. What is my process like? What process do I follow every day? When I mess up, what do? Do I go back to old habits? So make sure you have those backup plans. Make sure that you are focused on your process. I don't know if any of you have heard this before, but, and I used to say this a lot, and then I started hearing other trainers and coaches saying it. I'm thinking, I always hoped that it was me that started the trend, but focus on your process. Because if you focus on process and you try to perfect that process and get it right, get it more right every week, every month, every year, then you will reach the goals that you want. You will become better than you were the day before, the week before, the month before, and the year before. It's always about process. Everybody has a routine that is focused on some kind of process in their day. And when I say process, I mean that's your schedule. That's what you do when you wake up, after you wake up, and then when you go to bed, and when you go to bed. So it's this whole day it's this arc of activities and things that you do. What process is that? You have a life process that you do and architect the process that you want. Now that's what we've been doing the last couple of weeks by figuring out what to eat on our diet plan, what activities to do when we go to the gym or when we're out doing our activities, what activities are we doing to accomplish the goals that we have. And that is process. So focus on this process, not getting all the details right, but how close can I come to the target? If anyone's ever played pool or bowling or archery, you wouldn't quit the game if you didn't get a strike every time or if you didn't hit the center of the target every time. No, you just try to continue to get better and better and better. And that is exactly what this is like. Okay, some days you may not always get all your meals right. Some weeks you may not always get all the workouts that you want to get in, but that's okay. How close did you come? Don't reinforce the bad, the negative. Don't reinforce the activities and things that you didn't get done. And here's how here's how people generally reinforce those things. They beat themselves up. So I would tell you that if you want to beat yourself up, you go right ahead. And some people think that is a good thing for them to do because they need someone to beat up on them because they believe somehow that I've had lots of clients come to me and say, I want you to be hard on me because that's what kicks my butt in gear so that I can get the things done that I need to get done. And I say, no, I'm not going to do that. And they go, why? And I said, because one, I don't coach that way. And two, I found over the last 36 years that it never works. Let me repeat that. It never works. So every time you say something negative to yourself, you reinforce that exact activity that you don't want to do. You tell yourself essentially that, oh, this is the way that I do it. I always mess up. I always skip this. I never do this. And you can hear your own dialogue. If you wrote down all the things of your own personal dialogue in your brain, of the things you say to yourself, and you looked at it on a sheet and read it to yourself, ask yourself this one litmus test question. Would I say this to my son or daughter to encourage them? You are supposed to encourage yourself. You have to be your biggest cheerleader. Do not expect the world to do that for you because it will not. It will denigrate you, it will put you down, and it will reinforce the things that you're already doing. And if you're not doing it perfectly, it'll reinforce the imperfections. So I tell you, please speak kindly to yourself. Even if sometimes people don't want to because they feel like they're being dishonest. It's not dishonest if you focus on the things that you are getting right. So that would mean maybe you only got one meal that you had on your perfect day's plan right that day. Focus on that. I got that one meal in. Okay, maybe you messed up 2 other meals. Okay, you messed up those 2 others, but you messed up. You're already paying the price for it. You don't need to compound that with more damage. It's like when if any of you had children, I'm sure many of you had children, I've had children, and when children were learning how to first walk, when they were toddlers, and you were trying to help them, right? You let them go and they start to wobble a little bit and they fall over. They never make it on their first couple of tries, right? They have to kind of get their legs working right, to build those muscles and their coordination and their brain and their central nervous system has to get wired to do this. Well, that takes a little bit of time, not very long usually, but what do we usually do? We usually encourage them. But what you wouldn't do is if your child fell, imagine this. You see somebody trying to help their child walk, it falls, and they say, hey, idiot, get up, you stupid. You can never get anything right. You're going to do this forever. It's like, you would never do that. Oh my gosh, you would never do that. Because you would, for one thing, you'd probably create some serious traumas for your child, but otherwise it would be unproductive. It would not help that child. It would make the child not want to get up again. They just stay crawling because the one person they love in the world is telling them they're stupid, is telling them they can't do it, is telling them that they're no good. And that's exactly what we do to ourselves when we sit there and we give ourselves negative talk. So be very careful with the kinds of messages that you tell yourself in your brain because it's either reinforcing something bad or reinforcing something good. Get in the habit of reinforcing just the good things. And sometimes it's harder to find those good things, but sometimes it's easy. And as you do it more and more and more, that habit becomes stronger and stronger and stronger. We develop these neural pathways in our brain. Those neural pathways get wider and stronger the more we use them. Sometimes, and they create ruts. So they create this ease of doing things. So some things that we always do every day, so to speak, ways in which we think, things that we do, take a simple thing like how we speak to ourselves, we're brushing our teeth, combing our hair, all those things are activities or they're ways in which that we think, and those create neural pathways, and so we almost do them meditatively. In other words, we almost do them and we don't have to think about them. They just kind of come out, we just kind of do them. And that is because those neural pathways are so strong that they almost become reflexive in nature. We don't have to think about it. Nature provided this way to help us to stay safe. Because we didn't want to sit here and have to think about certain things. Like for instance, we have certain natural reflexive pathways. Like when you grab something hot, on the stove, your hand will instantly jerk back. You don't even have to tell yourself that. It's going to do it all by itself. And you can feel that natural reaction. It's actually a reflexive loop. And boom, you just naturally pull back. You don't have to think about it. That's because over the last eon of years, our bodies have evolved to help keep us safe. And when there's really big danger, immediate emergent danger, our bodies will use these reflexes to help us. It's really interesting. Nature has a lot of them in other animals as well. But we can use this to our advantage when we're trying to create habits and processes in our life. We're trying to reprogram ourselves. These are exactly what we're talking about when we talk about programming ourselves. We can reprogram ourselves in certain ways to be able to be almost reflexive in the ways that we think about ourselves and about what's going on in our world and how we interpret the world. It's so important for me to stress this, that how you interpret how you're doing will dictate how you will do later. So if you think you're doing poorly, you will probably do poorly later. In other words, what you believe, you reinforce. So and what we believe, what we think most often. So, and I know that sounds kind of weird probably for some people, but our beliefs are just thoughts that we keep thinking. We like to think that we try to believe truth, but we don't believe truth. We believe the things that we continue to think. So if you've always thought you were an idiot, you will probably think that no matter what, until you change those thinking patterns. And if you thought them studies have shown, science tells us that after the age of 35, it gets harder and harder and harder. Not impossible, but it gets harder and harder and harder to change those neural pathways. Not because we can't, but because those neural pathways become stronger and stronger, and we keep using them over and over again. And by the time you hit 35, you've used them long enough that they're so strong, they've created sort of ruts in our brain where it's difficult to get out of a rut. Have you ever been driving down in a ditch somewhere where the wheels are in like a rut of sorts, and it's hard to steer out of those? You have to go through a little bit of turbulence to get out of them. And that's kind of the same analogy, because once we start thinking a certain way and we don't change it, then it'll start to affect our personalities and our character, and then, of course, our outcomes. So don't think that what you believe does not affect what happens these outcomes. It absolutely does. So a lot of the work that I do with my clients over the years, what I've found is it's on the belief systems that they hold. It's on how they speak to themselves. It's on how they treat themselves. So you have to be nice to yourself. It's not just about saying things that you don't believe. That's not what I'm talking about, because you don't really want to do that. You want to say something that you believe. You want to be able to talk to yourself in a way that is truthful to what you believe. It's truthful about yourself, but it focuses on the things that are going right and well, and not on the things that you don't like and that aren't going so well. If something doesn't go right in your life, it's probably a better idea to just allow it to happen and then forget about it. Don't give yourself so if you mess up on your diet, oh well, that's just what happened today. You can say something like that. It's okay. It just happened today. But I'm going to be better tomorrow. I'm going to be better the next meal. I've always said, focus on what's next. So whenever my clients ask me, what if I mess up on this meal? Or what if I skip this meal? Or what if I don't do that? Pick up where you're left off. Don't worry about what you can't change. Only worry about what you can change. Only worry about what you can do now. You can't really do much about what has already happened. You can't make up for it. You can only work with what's now and going forward. Only focus on the positive. Only focus on for me, the positive is, where am I at now? Where can I go from where I'm at? So I don't care about yesterday. I don't care about tomorrow. I don't care about anything else, because those things, tomorrow hasn't happened yet. Yesterday's already gone. But today, right now, right in this moment, I have this moment to get it right. I can make a decision right now that's in my best interests. That's the kind of attitude you want to be in. And then when you do it, immediately tell yourself, good job. I used to do this thing, and I still recommend it, that when I'm in the bathroom in the morning and I've woke up, it doesn't matter, my day hasn't even started yet, but I would give myself a high five in the mirror. Bam! Of course, be careful, don't break your mirrors, please. But and just say, good job, Tad, because I got up. Some people don't even do that. I got up, I made my bed, I got 2 things right. I got 2 successes right off the bat. Like, I highly recommend that if those of you who don't make their beds, that's the one success you can get first thing in the morning. It sounds really goofy, but making your bed is the first success of the day. It's like I've done one thing that's good for me, because I don't like leaving my house a mess. Now, some people don't care, and they don't really care about those things. So if you don't care, you don't care. But for me, tidiness is something that I really, really enjoy, and it's something that I can't do without. So my house is always picked up. It's always tidy. There's never dishes in the sink. And these are successes for me. They're like little things I check off in my brain. And I highly recommend that you examine your own life and find those things in your life that you can create successes. Because my guess is each one of you is highly successful in certain areas of your life. There's just a few areas that you might want to work on. Maybe it's your diet, maybe it's your activity, maybe it's your workouts, maybe it's what you're eating. It doesn't matter what it is. But okay, so you need to work on those. But they're not. But you're trying to do something. But you have these other areas where you're already successful at. Piggyback off that success. So for instance, if you're the kind of person that makes their bed every morning, that's the one success you've gotten. If you're the kind of person that always keeps their house clean, that's another success. These are successes that chalk up so you can build your own self-confidence. And then eventually your brain is going to tell you, what you're going to feel is that I can do more than this. I can be successful in these other areas. This became very, very, very vivid to me when I was growing up, and I was not a very good student when I was in grade school. Now, my mother would tell you that I was, but I didn't think I was, because I struggled to just get C's. I didn't flunk out or anything, but in grade school. And I thought it was because the teacher didn't like me. I thought that the reason why I couldn't get A's in my coursework was because the teacher needed to favor me, that the teacher just didn't like me, that I was just, for some reason I couldn't figure it out because I was working hard. It's not like I didn't care. And then we found out that I couldn't really see that well, and I couldn't really hear that well because I had fluid in my ears. It was my developmental period. They put tubes in my ears, drained the water out. That seemed to help a lot. I got glasses. And then all of a sudden I could see the board and I could hear the teacher. So now all of a sudden I went from doing that to getting much better grades. And all of a sudden school was easy. Now I had a math class in 6th grade, and this black lady. She was a wonderful algebra teacher, and she was a tough teacher. Nobody wanted to take her. Nobody wanted to take her courses because everyone always said it was hard to get a good grade in her class. And so everyone would get D's or C's or something. But I had to take her class. I didn't have a choice. So I took her class, and she pulled me aside first week, and she said, "Tad, I know you're smarter than this, and I know you can do better. You're going to show up after class every day, and we're going to work on it. And we're also going to work on your penmanship because it sucks." I said, "Okay." So I showed up every day after class, and we worked on my penmanship, and we worked on my homework. And I got my first A, my very first A that I can remember in her class. Intentionally. And then after that, I knew I could get an A in anything I wanted. So by the time I got into junior high, I was getting all A's, just about all A's. I had a couple B's. And then by high school, I was mostly A's. And then by college, I had all A's. Now, and I had felt like I was an A student. I felt like I was smart. I felt like I could get it done. But it was all because of this teacher. It was all because she had faith in me first. She taught me to have faith in myself. She didn't give it to me. She taught me that I could. She showed me that I could through my own actions. I didn't realize what she was doing at the time, but I'm trying to do the same for you. That if you see the successes in your life in other areas, if you can get it done in other areas like your work or other areas, you can be successful there, then you can be successful here as well. It's not that there's no difference. The only difference is it's a different modality. It's a different activity. It's a different process. You just apply the same type of attention to detail and focus on this other process. And that's what I encourage all of you to look into your lives and to mark your successes and to give yourself credit, pat yourself on the back, give yourself a high five, and do that daily. Get in the habit of doing that. And that helps you build this grit, because when you're in those situations where it feels difficult, and now this is what one of my euphemisms is, in order to be successful, you have to step into the room of uncomfortability and stay there a while until it gets comfortable. That's the key to success in bodybuilding. That's the key to success in anything that's hard, because the things that are easy, how could you call it success if it's easy? It's not really, it did not challenge you. You've already knew how to do it. So there's no growth. There was nothing there. Okay, great, you did a good job, but is it really a good job if you only put in 40% effort to get a good job, or 60% effort? But if you put in 100% effort and failed, and then put in 100% effort and then got a 60%, and then put 100% effort and then got a 70%, and then put 100% effort and then got an 80%, and then put 100% effort and then got a 90%, and then put 100% effort and then got a 99%, that is what I'm talking about. And that's what I built my career on, this. Like of my own self. So this is the process that I recommend. That grit is stepping into the room of uncomfortability and continue, focusing on my process, no matter what it feels like. Everybody wants everything to feel good, but sometimes things just don't feel good. And usually the things that change us the most don't feel good. They feel hard, they feel challenging, and it's because usually we have somewhere that we need to grow. There's some area in that activity or in that modality or in that process where we have to grow to be able to meet it where it's at. So knuckle down this week and try to get this homework. Pick a couple things where you can focus on this grit and do some hard stuff. There's actually there's a part of your brain that we know now, actually, that when you do something hard, you develop this particular part of your brain. It starts to expand, and that's the part of your brain that helps you move into the uncomfortable spaces of your life. And the more that you do it, the easier it becomes to do it. So most people just try to avoid all the hard stuff. And when I say hard stuff, I mean those things that scare us, those things that make us feel uncomfortable, those things that make us feel, maybe they might give us anxiety. There's real reasons why we might feel those feelings, but you can move through them. Now, I'm not saying torture yourself, but I am saying that doing things that are uncomfortable is highly beneficial for each one of us. And usually, the reason why we're failing, especially in the fitness world, the reason why we're failing at our goals is because we're not willing to do things hard long enough. And that's just grit. So good luck, everybody. I know you guys can do it. If you have any questions, please email me or put them in the comment section. We'll all see you next week. I think next week is a live session. So we'll see you next week.